Hi, I'm Pete, and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. We finally have some nice weather today. It's been windy and cloudy and some rain, dreary, fall-like, all week long. Howdy, ladies. What? What do you guys want? Low grumbling. Hi, Patty. Mainly today I'm going to get ready for the plow day, which is tomorrow. But first, I'm going to move these guys. Come on, line them up and move them out. No, we're not going there. That is a heavy do. I like that. Here they come. Are you ready for new ground? How about you? The woods is slowly getting its fall color, tinges of it. Well, we're gonna go right in here. All right, guys. Yes. Titus is still up there grumbling. Must be one of the heifers is in heat in the heifer yard. We got a small crew out here now because the herd's divided up. Orden's group's in the barn and the heifers, 3 of them are in the heifer pasture. Where are you guys going? Titus is slowly making his way down. Hi, Titus. Oh, you got a poopy butt. He's not very happy about that. I gotta go down close up to the gate to the field that they were in already. This one right here. Oh, somebody reefed on that. What a nice morning. As I said, we got some rain this week, which was sorely needed. It was very, very dry, but we only got about ½ an inch, and this is a time of year when the weather really determines how long we can keep the cattle on pasture. We always shoot for December 1st, but it depends on how much sun we get, when the first frost is, and how much rain we get. It helps quite a bit that we have the fewest number of cattle that we'll have all year this time of year, so the grass can stay ahead of them here for a while. The last 3 heifers went to the butcher a week ago, and that's our last beef of the year that went to the butcher. Broilers are gone. We'll be doing stew hens here in probably October sometime, and then we'll be ready for winter. Here's the main project for this morning. Way back in here. This is my 1939 F-20. I don't think it started this year. It's pretty dusty. Can you believe this? This is the manure spreader that I redid almost a year ago. And remember, I had a flat tire the day that I went out to spread manure with it on the other side. The tire shop sliced a tube. Well, the same thing happened to this side. I'm gonna have to jack it up and fix it. The tire shop owner retired and closed his doors, so it's up to me. First, I'm hoping the super rail will start. It hasn't run since last winter when I plowed with it. Now the F-20 crank. There's a lot of steps to getting one of these going. First I got to oil the top end of the engine. There's troughs up with felts in them that drip oil onto the rocker arms. Retard the magneto, which is all the way up here. That's grounded, and retarded is just off grounding. Turn on the fuel. You can tell she's been sitting for a while because some evaporated. See her flowing in there. The carburetor's full when she stops swirling. Neutral. Oh, lots of gas in the tank. And she's ready to crank over. A note on the magneto, I set the magneto to fully retarded. The magneto, when I put it on, when I rebuilt this tractor, is set to fire in that position at top dead center, or just a touch after top dead center. And manual magnetos like that are nice for crank start tractors because you know they're retarded. What happens is if you advance the spark, that means that the spark plug is firing a little bit before the piston comes to the top of its stroke up, and then you have the danger of the engine kicking back, wanting to run backwards because it's rotating slowly. When the engine is rotating fast, you want it to spark a little bit ahead of top dead center because things are moving so fast that it turns out that's the right point to start the reaction, the little explosion in the cylinder. Anyway, that's why you do it. Set the choke, full choke. Cold start, usually it's full choke. Still she squirts out the bottom of the carburetor and then half choke. See how I'm grabbing the crank? I got my thumb wrapped behind and I'm only pulling up one stroke. I'm not pushing it around and around because if it kicks, it's going to hurt me if it does that. I've had them kick before and this position has saved me. You don't need to whirl it around faster and faster. Just click it over. She squirted. Hear the engine when I adjust the spark. Hear how it runs easier? There I've gone too far, it's skipping a little bit. I found that it runs best all the way advanced only when the tractor's under load. We'll let her idle for a while, put a good charge back in the battery since she's been set. Wait a second. This is how I shut her off. Let her run out of gas. The carburetor bowl is so big it takes forever to run out of gas to run it dry. Also, the flywheel in the bell housing is so heavy, big, it'll rotate quite a few revolutions and then pop back like it did. Oil. 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 Oh, who put that in there? No water. Here's the oil filter, and the connecting piping is all exposed on the outside of the engine. This line here runs down, and I believe it supplies the troughs that the dippers for the connecting rods run in. They go through the troughs of oil and scoop up oil to lubricate the rod bearings, and then there's a pipe that goes over here to lubricate the governor, and then there's a pipe down in here that I think lubricates the camshaft. I can't remember, it's been a while. Anyway, nothing lubricates the rocker arms up here except for the manual lubrication that I did before I started it. This plug on the bottom of the oil filter will drain the oil out of it so you don't make such a mess when you take the cover off. Gasket's got to come out of here. Well, I don't feel one. Oh, it's stuck to the cover. That makes it easy. Clean this slot out anyway. Drain plug back in. Napa 1125 filter. It's the same one that goes in the early H's with the tall canister. This one came with a gasket. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. I'm always happy when they do. I don't know why you would not put in a new gasket with the filter, so they should be sold together, but they're not. I'm getting this tractor ready for a plow day, which is tomorrow. I'm going to use it to pull my Little Genius number 8 two-bottom plow. A couple weeks ago I used my Farmall H to pull that same two-bottom plow, and it had its hands full. I think this will pull it a lot easier. In my experience pulling drag, spring tooth harrow around things, this pulls better than the H. And it reminds me of a story I've heard a bunch of times. These came in 3 sizes, the F series. There was the F-12, which became the F-14, the F-20, and the F-30. When they switched to the letter series in 1939, farmers that had an F-20 figured the H, being the medium size, was a tractor for them. And once they brought the H home, they found it didn't pull as well as the F-20. So dealers got in the habit of recommending, I think, an M for people that had an F-20 is kind of the equivalent. And I think it's just engine displacement. This is a 220 cubic inch inline 4 engine, of course. The H had a 152 cubic inch engine. The H had a 4 1/4 inch stroke. This has a 5 inch stroke on the pistons. And when it comes to lugging power, I guess there's no replacement for displacement. It's just what I've experienced. She takes 7 quarts oil right in here. Loosen up the top petcock, and when oil starts to flow out of that, we know she's full. There she goes. The bulls are having a conversation back there. While I'm at it, I can fill up my oil can for oiling the top end. I run 50/50 engine oil and Marvel Mystery Oil in this because it keeps the valves from sticking. It works wonders. This is the oil bath air cleaner up front. We'll change that too. Some people use old engine oil in these, but I put clean engine oil in. See if there's any water in the bottom of this. Yeah. Oh, that's the big thing. Water sits in the bottom, and then it'll rot out the bottom. You gotta clean everything out of there. Fill her up to the mark. Notice that this tractor has 2 fuel tanks. It's got a little one here labeled gasoline. That's it right there. That circle, it's inset into the tank a little bit. It only holds a gallon or maybe a little more. And then it's got the main fuel tank here, which originally would hold distillate. And under here at the fuel bowl, you've got the main outlet from the main tank here, which comes straight down the fuel bowl. And then you've got a line that runs back and feeds out of the gasoline tank here in the back. And then the other line out of the sediment bowl, of course, runs down to the carburetor. Back in the day, distillate, as it's called, was a low-grade fuel that was a lot cheaper than gasoline. So you would start the tractor on gasoline, warm it up some, and then you would switch it over to the distillate. I think distillate was called TVO, or tractor vaporizing oil, overseas. I think that they're comparable. The manifold would have been one with a heat exchanger in it to preheat the incoming air, because the distillate, being low grade, had to have a hot engine to burn correctly. And there were also shutters on the front of the radiator which were adjustable with a crank. I have them upstairs in the garage. I've never cleaned them up, but you'd crank them open or close to adjust the engine operating temperature to get the distillate to burn. Now I just run it on gasoline. I put gasoline in the main tank and it runs just fine off of that. Let's see if we can get the radiator fill off of here, the cap. It's got a little pressure in it. I think I might have sealed this because it would slosh and leak through the gasket. I think I did. Well, let's see if we can get this off without destroying the gasket. Oh, cool. No, I didn't seal it. She's full. Looks all right. There's the overflow tube down in there, that copper tube sticking up. This tractor has a thermosiphon cooling system, which means there's no water pump and no thermostat, and a whole lot of cooling capacity, a whole lot of gallons. There's no water pump in here. You've got a radiator outlet down here, and you've got the radiator inlet down here that goes up to this big tank here, and all that happens is the coolant, water, whatever, comes in here to the block, of course gets heated up in the engine, and it's just convection. If the hot coolant flows out of here, comes in the radiator cools it, and as it cools it gets denser and it comes down and it repeats the circuit. There's nothing pumping it. No thermostat. Nothing. It just is. Farmall A's are the same way. The only way you could control the engine temperature is via the shutters, which I talked about on the front of the radiator. And then there was a lever that went on the manifold that it controlled the heat exchange on the manifold that went back, and you could control it from the seat too, and you'd watch a temperature gauge, especially if you were burning distillate, and adjust those two things to get the engine to the right temperature. I'll check the gear oil on the transmission. This takes the thick stuff, 85-140, because it's got rope packings at all of the shafts that come out that you tighten up with packing nuts. This is a level plug, so if it's at this level, we're good. Yep. Next I want to clean and set the points, and to do that I got to open up the magneto. There's a little clip here. You just slide, and there we go. Easy peasy. The points are right in there. They have a tendency to get glazed with sitting, so I'll file them a little bit. And by file, I mean I take a piece of 400 grit emery cloth and pass them between the contacts on the points a few times. Set the engine to points open. That was the impulse snapping. Should be 13 thousandths. Yep, we're good. Little cam lobe grease on the leading edge there. And back together she goes. Just a touch of lubrication for the magneto, a few drops. There's a bunch of oil ports here. And the impulse coupling over here, that can get a little more. I've got this drawbar set low and I want to pull it up because I know the plow draw hitch is taller than this. You got a pivot there and then this, and of course you can move it up and change the pitch of the drawbar. And I got some loose wheel clamp bolts. I could tell because I heard a clicking when I drove it down the driveway. Oh, one important thing I forgot. This is a narrow tread F-20, so if I measure from here to here, 45.5 inches. Unlike the later tractors, the letter series, etc., there's no splined axles on this. In order to change the wheel spacing, you can turn these inside out and you can mess with bolting patterns under here, but it's not nearly as easy. So if you were using narrower rows, you could buy a narrow tread version. These aren't that rare around here. I've seen quite a few. This F-20 I've got in the weeds over here is a regular tread, standard tread, not a narrow tread. And it's 57.5 inches wide. That's a 12-inch difference, 1 foot difference. And with that, I guess I have everything done and we're ready to go plow. What? It's dirty? Does that really affect performance? Well, I guess so. I guess a clean tractor runs better, right? Oh, well, it's not the end of the video. Let's go ahead and do that. I'll grease her up and then we can go for a spin. Lots of grease fittings on her. See these cables here? There's one on each side. And what these cables do is this arm here moves when you steer with the steering shaft that goes down to the wheels down there. And they'll pull on one cable or the other depending on which way the arm is. And that cable on each side runs back to this brake paddle here. And this is the brake shaft. So it'll automatically pull on that side's brakes when you steer around enough so you can spin the tractor right in place, which was handy at the end of the rows cultivating. Let's go for a ride and blow the cobwebs out. This is a spark advance right here. That's fully advanced. And that's retarding it. She just needs to do some work. starting to sound better. Yeah, I'm on a little hill. If I put the brakes on, sounds best under load. She'll be fine. She sounds good now. These old tractors weren't built to putt around. They were built to work, and they sound best when they work, and they run best when they work. That's why I like working them. Now I'll be working it tomorrow at the plow day. I hope to film it, and that'll be the next video you see. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you next time. I will. I'll see you next time.